education in the 21st century, it's a different world. They created a real fake or fake real university based off the TV show. Hillman Talk is the new school of in our online community. And I always knew we had a thirst for knowledge. Speaking of knowledge, we get into the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show. Then we close things out with the Robinson Report.
Welcome to My Mic Sounds Nice, a freestyle conversation about health, relationships, and culture. Once again, this is Tim, always glad to be in the building. Let's get it.
My mic sounds nice. This is Kevin, a.k.a. Reggie Jacks, coming from the Bronx. Thanks for joining us today.
My mic sounds nice. This is Aaron from Strong Island. Live it and live, y'all. Let's do it.
Let's get into it, fellas. How y'all doing?
Well, I should be outlawed from ever picking football games, ever. I have to retire. I'm glad I don't know nothing about Prize Picks or any of those gambling sites.
Yes.
You know, parlays and all that nonsense. Because that ain't my life. But you, Tim, verge victorious with your prediction.
Well, I probably would have just broke even if we was doing this for money. So please, our PSA is please do not place any bets based upon My Mic Sounds Nice. We speak really confident, but we really don't know much of what we're talking about. We're really talking about our heart. We're lifelong football fans. And Aaron and I had got all of the playoff rounds wrong. Reggie Jacks was rolling, and then it converged on the Super Bowl. And I pushed all my chips on Jalen, and they left me alone. They left me at the club, but it ended up being a great game. I had never seen Philly's defense play. I never seen Philly's defense play and/or Kansas City's offense play polar opposites like that at the same time. So
I went with my heart, not my head, because I knew Philly had a much better defensive line. I mean, both sides of the line. I knew that they were massive and great, but geez.
I went with Mahomes because he had proven people wrong, even with it. I was clear he had a subpar team, but they were 14-2 for the season. Like it's hard to go against that.
15-2.
15-2. So the funny thing about it with my prediction though is I was like, I picked Mahomes, and I was like, but Philly will probably blow him out by 30. So I ended up being halfway right.
See, you should have went with the last thing. But you know what? Football season is over. The combine is the last week of February. Fast forward through March, and then you get the draft this year at Lambeau Field. So they're gonna do it big and make it historic. And that's in April, and then we'll be back talking about which quarterback is gonna go first and all that other good stuff. So
I'm glad for the break. I can stop being mad about the NFL and
exactly
at the same time.
Exactly. So, but let's dive into the show, brothers.
Let's dive in. So, on February 14th, the United States Department of Education released a letter called the Dear Colleague Letter. And they sent it out to everybody involved in education that receives federal funding, and they wanted to let them know where the Department of Education is heading under this new Trump administration. Now, we all know that they all want to ultimately get rid of the Department of Education. They hate it because Jimmy Carter started it in 76, and they don't want government. They've been trying to kill this for years. The letter starts off, Dear colleague.
You want to see the letter?
Huh?
You want to see the letter?
Sure.
Let's bring it up.
Yeah. Dear colleague, discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin is illegal and morally reprehensible. Accordingly, I write to clarify and reaffirm the non-discrimination obligations of schools and other entities receiving federal financial assistance from the United States government. And then it goes on to that's enough. And then it goes on to just discuss all the different ways of which they believe racism exists when you have graduations for people of color. If you have housing, if you have set aside housing for people that are like black housing, Hispanic housing, things like that.
Reggie Jacks, and I'm intentionally saying Reggie Jacks because I want you mad. I need you mad right now. Please, you got to read this one sentence. In recent years, American educational institutions have discriminated against students on the basis of race. Here it goes, including white and Asian students, many of whom come from disadvantaged backgrounds and low-income families.
It's, it is. Oh my goodness! It is. I don't know if it's the most tone deaf letter. You're trying to harm Black people or people of color or minorities, but it is so disheartening that we're here, that we realize that we as a nation have made mistakes racially, and we put in place protections to take care of minorities. And now we're going to use that very same apparatus to make sure that whites and some Asians are protected. And I'm sorry, there's just not a two classes that are particularly harmed at the upper echelons of education. Because when they include Asians, we know what they're talking about: Ivy League schools and Asian students attempting to get into these higher education, top of the line schools, that they're concerned that Black and brown people are getting slots to be allowed in because of underrepresentation.
You can take the letter down now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Please get rid of that.
Yeah, because I want Reggie Jackson mad, but I don't want him cussing. I don't want you to have to push the button.
Yeah, man. How did we get here?
We got here because large people in the white community, the dominant culture, they find themselves that their numbers are dwindling. These schools and colleges, which were primarily only for them, and very few people got in, including Jewish people. They've excluded them for years. And now, as their percentage of them have decreased, they're using Asian students, or they're using those students as a proxy. We know that they don't care. We know that if it's primarily them, they're then going to complain about there's too many of them attending that school. It's only a proxy. They're doing it because they feel that they're losing power, and everything within their ability, they are trying to diminish it. You can't just knock them down that way. You got to go after the education. You got to go after, we can't even teach anything about differences. We can't allow anybody to feel like they belong in the institution that they are. Like it's only, and I know people say, well, yeah, it's only these top level institutions, but unfortunately, a lot of leadership, a lot of people come from these organizations, from these institutions, where there's a lot of bonds and things are being made, and allows them to become leaders throughout the country. And if you come up in that education in that way, where that's only you're very limited.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much. But Aaron, I love what you were saying, because that's really the part that's the head scratcher. That literally the government is attacking the measures that were put in to address the legal the legal segregation and laws that were in effect. So it really now is, you are punishing how the people, this is how you protect your neck. And this is the response that came forward. And building off of your point, that with this whole thing, nobody was ever asking for standards to be lowered. He literally was asking for just consideration, because we all know there's research that's been done on, if your name is X and it comes across, I'm not checking that, versus, this is, Timothy Jones, could be white, could be Black. That name's going to rise to the top. Raheem Johnson, I don't know. Those types of biases, this was there to address that, but now it's being attacked under the presumption that, it was lowering standards and letting people in that don't belong. And so now it almost feels like you're being damned because you adequately took advantage of the opportunity to compete. So
it seems like after the George Floyd protests and corporate and even educational institutions with diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is never about hiring anybody who isn't qualified. I have to say it for the world because it's the lie that's been told over and over.
Yeah.
It's about it broadening the pool in which you look for candidates. That doesn't mean once you find somebody from a community you never looked in, if they weren't qualified, that they would get the job. However, that's the lie that's been told.
Yep.
And it seemed like there were measures being put in place that would lead to real actual change and equitable behavior in this country. And it just feels like there were some people where that was a circumstance that could not be tolerated. And then you get the lies about what DEI is. You get the lies about discriminations on campuses. You get concerned about who is in such and such dorm. What the fact that historically Black colleges exist. All of these things that have been part and parcel of our society for some things over 100 years that no one had a problem with. Now there seems to be a systematic, intentional governmental dismantling of the systems that were in place that led to achievement and advancement within minority communities. And last thing I'll say is for, the white community that feels like they're, smaller, have more babies. Because that's where we are as a country, the declining birth rate. We look like China 1.1, from them 30 years ago. We're having less children and we need to have more children. And particularly in the white community, their numbers are, I think it's 1.8 instead of 2 children a year.
Asking
you need 2.2 is the replacement rate.
It's the replacement rate.
The average people have to have 2.2 in order to replace. Overall, they're acting like they're coming up with a solution, but they're ignoring the problem. They're ignoring how we got there. 40% of schools, or it might be 40% within the urban communities, don't have calculus. If you can't take calculus in high school, how are you going to be a STEM major? It's nearly impossible.
It is impossible.
It's going to be very difficult. Or if you do it, you're going to have to, it's going to cost you additional time because you're going to be behind. You're going to have to catch up. Now, just because you didn't have it available to you doesn't mean that you're not able to do it. It just means that that's the environment. Why are you in that environment when you don't have it? Because of the funding sources, how we fund public schools, because of systemic racism, because of redlining, because of all these historical things which are continually being done. And there's 1,000,001 different ways in which we respond to behavior in this way. In New York City, a kid has to pay in order to go to school. You've got to pay to get your public transportation if you were within certain distances, or you had to pay half fare in order to go to school. That's not the case in the suburbs. You get a bus, either you get transportation, or you don't get transportation. Yeah. And there's a number of different things which are harmful to our community in ways which are built in, which are systemic. I don't care how many times you tell the lie that there's no systemic racism. It exists. It exists. I could point to it 8 million different ways. But quite frankly, the harm, the damage that these things have done, which is why they try to mitigate it with other things on the back end. But now that you're going to do this and you're going to act like these things didn't exist, and you're going to control our education to make sure we don't even teach these things, so nobody knows these things, it's radical reconstruction all over again.
I mean, not only do
radical reconstruction.
Yeah, not only do we have Black History Month in education, we have Italian History Month, we have Greek History Month, we have Women's History Month. Almost every month in a year, darn near has a history month. Black History Month the most famous, but all communities, in all honesty, have an acknowledgement of their contribution to society. And to act like that's a problem it's a sad day in education.
I'm scared for the teachers that are in these communities where they can no longer teach, where you have to watch
Yes.
The words that come out of your mouth intimidate. Like we know we work in schools, we consult for schools, and you definitely, you got to watch what you say, but like it doesn't change who I am as a like. There's nothing crazy that you got. Like nothing crazy is going to come out of our mouth. But now, if I say something around systemic racism, it could be a problem.
Yeah, I could tell you words like affirming, words like cultural. I mean, of course, everybody knows that DEI; those are the lightning rod words, but that the vocabulary is expanding. Just like the band book list, low key, not low key, is expanding.
Yeah, culturally responsive education.
Yeah, like these words, and it all started. You tie it back to the attack on critical race theory, which had nothing to do with K-12 schools, but they just used it, and words have power, and misused words are weapons. And that's the space that we're in. But I just hope that we honestly take a greater level of ownership on what it is that we want to study and what it is that we want to learn. And we're near the end of February, but who said that Black history needs to stop from a knowledge being gained? And so we'll continue to give you all updates on what's going on. Definitely our hearts go out to people, because it's one thing to have these conversations, but the reality is we're literally talking about people's lives. You're talking about the lives of young people who won't even be in a position to compete for those opportunities. You're talking about the lives of parents and communities and educators who like, okay, what do I do? What can I say? What can I say? And is somebody recording me? Is somebody going to report me? And like, who wants to operate in that type of space?
Yeah, I mean, this letter, real quick before we go, it says educational institutions have tactically indoctrinated students with the false premise that the United States is built on systemic and structural racism and advanced discriminatory practices and policies. This is a letter. You made a statement as if that's a fact, that structural and systemic racism doesn't exist.
No, that the nation wasn't built on it.
Yes, but that is a personal opinion, and it's put in this letter as if it's fact, and then I'm going to build my policies based upon this statement that I believe that is my thinking, and then we're going to go from there. And that is a dangerous place, because this isn't, well, we've studied for the last 10 years and we haven't been able to find any systemic racism in America, and therefore we're not going to teach that. This is someone who isn't affected by systemic racism, who doesn't like the way it sounds and maybe the way it makes them feel, decide we're done with this.
Yeah, we're done feeling guilty. We're not apologizing anymore.
And no one told you to feel guilty.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right.
So we should move on.
Yeah, but before, I want everybody to recognize this letter comes from the Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights for the Department of Education. So the person is in charge of protecting you. Here's your protection. We got to do racism better.
You got to protect your neck. First thing first, man.
Yes.
All
we want is for all students to have a fair chance, a fair opportunity, and to understand inequities that exist in our society and try and correct them. It's not a controversial thing, and I hope that we get there one day.
Now,
so we'll keep you posted.
For those of you that are out there still trying to learn, making sure you get your education, have you heard of Hillman Talk? It's the new fake university. It's the real fake university, or the fake real university, however you want to call it. Based off of
it's Bill the Cosby's digital Hillman.
The digital Hillman.
Don't front, because people was trying to apply to Hillman.
In 91, right, Tim?
Like, yo, don't like
92,
during this show, like
Yeah.
I know cats was
Yeah.
in high school. Like, yo, what school, yo? I'm going to Hillman, dog.
I know it's a thing. It's based off of the Cosby Show spinoff, A Different World, where Denise went to Hillman College.
Yes.
And so there's a black professor. I'm sorry, I can't remember the sister's name, from North Carolina A&T. She's
pull it up so we can give honor where honor is due.
Yeah, she's an African American histories professor at A&T, and she did a TikTok introduction to her class that she likes to do every semester. Introduce herself a little about what the rules of the class, a little digital quick synopsis, syllabus type thing. People saw it, started trending, they liked it, and they started following her. And then she puts up notes about her class regularly. She does it. She typically does this for her class, but now everybody started following it. And people saw it's like, hey, that's a great idea. Let me jump in. And then so other professors started doing it. And so people started calling it Hillman Talk University. Then they created a website and everything. And then, of course, some grifters came along and tried to grift their way because, that's
really?
Yeah.
And the website is HillmanTalkHBCU.com.
Yes.
They are the Hillman Talk Panthers, Panther Nation. And they have late spring 2025 enrollment is now available online. Yes. Hurry and make sure you are enrolled. They have a course catalog and the whole nine. I love it.
Yeah, and she's been featured. She was featured in the New York Times like the first week of February. She's been on ABC News and all types of things. So it's an interesting thing. Who says we don't want to learn?
You can subscribe to join the student union. Like this is for me. It's all. I mean, continually. Where would we be without Black women? Just like
once again, right?
Like once again, when the back is against the wall, they find a way. But also, to me, it's just a continual iteration of the power of what we can do when everything comes together. Like you think about when we were talking before the show, that Hillman Talk universities, that kind of lightning in a bottle moment, the same way that Club Quarantine with D Nice during the pandemic. Like D Nice had a career beforehand, but this was that moment. Everybody's online, and with Hillman Talk, I think it just is empowering, because in some ways it takes us back to when we were forced to educate ourselves for ourselves, by ourselves, to prepare us to be able to navigate in a world that really is not seeing us as equal.
Yeah.
So I love it. I need a sweatshirt.
I know, right? And then they should use the money from sweatshirts and stuff to build out infrastructure. To me, fellas, this is no different than the courses that we had online where you could learn photography or learn videography online. I was looking up trying to see some of those old institutions, and I don't see anything. I guess they're all gone now, but like Filmora and those type of video sites. And I think there is a need for young people, particularly young Black people, because that's who's likely going to go there, to be able to go online and learn about whatever, English, photography, there's a writing class on there, a film writing class on there, to be able to take these classes in a world where a lot of Black people, young Black people, can't afford to go to college, aren't going to go to college, need to find a different way to make it in their lives. And if they take a photography class on Hillman Talk, and that opens the door to get them to go out there and, find that career, I'm all for it. I don't see, I know that some people have taken issue with it, and this isn't real education and it's not a real Black college. And all of that type of negative stuff, I don't see how learning anything, especially when it's free by qualified instructors, could be bad in any situation ever, especially in 2025 when everything that we cherish is changing and it's different. The way we watch TV, the way we consume media, the way we eat, the way we order our food, nothing isn't under rapid change. So why should education be any different?
I think education, sadly, as an institution, is always lagging behind as industries continue to move, and it really is magnified by the fact that education is actually the industry that's supposed to prepare young people to take advantage of all of the other industries that make up our society. But I also think that it is about unlearning that very Western hierarchical, this is the only thing that qualifies as knowledge, and this is the only person that can teach. That's not innately us. That is definitely not innately African. We have such a tradition of just oral history. We have such a regard, for our elders, and I'm saying elders like the homies on the block. Like, people were always dropping gems and dropping jewels. I mean, we love hip hop. Yeah. KRS-One called himself the teacher. I would put his cred based upon how we as a community validates it up against anybody. Lupe Fiasco right now, he went from MIT to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm just giving those examples just to show that for too long, I think when it makes the university look good, then, oh, sure, we'll have a Nasir Jones fellowship because that makes Harvard look good. But Nas consistently talked about what traditional school didn't do. So I just think it's time for us to appreciate knowledge. And I hear what you were saying, that learning can take place anywhere, anytime, even by accident. You might learn from this podcast. So,
I jokingly said, see, we do have a thirst for knowledge, because sometimes I wonder if people outside the community don't think that we do. And one of the things I would say within the community and all over, you have to just respect that, yes, you can learn from anything, anybody, and when my child was small, he taught me lessons. Like there's just so much knowledge out there to be gained. And if you turn your nose up at things, because one thing I know for certain, and I know I don't know much, I know that I can't know everything.
Yeah.
And I know I got to get it from someplace else.
Yeah.
And I know if I'm only talking about the things that I know, then I'm a limited individual. Man, so somebody's got some stuff out there for you. You like, take it.
But also with this, to me, within this opportunity or this moment of Hillman Talk, I personally believe it is just as liberating for the people who are designing and putting up the courses as it is for those who are taking them, because there's just so much. I hear countless stories of, honestly, the horror of higher ed.
Yeah.
And honestly, how it will take away your joy that led you into higher education to teach and like that. And you could tell by just some of the titles of the courses that it's like, yo, if I want to teach this, I'm going to put it out there. If some people come and register, hey, we're rocking and just going from there. So I hope that it grows, and I think they were working on some merch. They definitely got to put some revenue streams in there, and because eventually you're going to have to take it off of TikTok, because that's one thing we got to be mindful of. We can't keep giving our genius away on platforms that at any moment can be gone.
Yeah. And
Dr. Leah Barlow is the woman's name.
Dr. Leah Barlow. Great. What a great way to end the segment. Had to shout her out.
Yeah. But with different, it was lynda.com and, LinkedIn and those type of things.
You went back on that.
Yeah.
Lynda. Lynda.com.
and LinkedIn, right now that's evolved in from Lynda to LinkedIn. Right now, you can take courses on there. Now there's a financial aspect to them, but what is the what's the difference other than the cost? And the fact that our community is doing it. I think that it's something that we need to fully embrace and get behind. And I hope that there does become a financial aspect to it that makes it sustainable. But I hope that people don't come in and make it about making money more than the organic growth that it came from.
It doesn't need to be Udemy.
Yes. Yes. No.
But you want to be able to sustain. So
no, absolutely.
So shout out to Hillman Todd. We was there during a different world and we're still here. So that's what's up.
Absolutely.
That's what's up. So in our thirst for knowledge, we saw the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl show. Kendrick got out there and he performed. And, I'm going to admit, I was with a hater. No, I'm not going to mention who the hater is.
Lou.
I was with a hater.
Monkey hustle.
and I'm looking for fire. I'm looking for all this excitement, and I'm not getting what I wanted. But rather than I did something I don't typically do with art. Typically, I just watch and take it in. And I was looking for something at that point because I'm with the hater. I wanted to prove this hater wrong. So I didn't enjoy it at first.
Yeah.
I was like, it's kind of mid. And then, then I started hearing the think pieces and all. I'm like, wait, well, did I miss something?
It's like, was my TV on a different channel? Was I watching it on Telemundo?
So then I went back and just watched it for the pure enjoyment. And I'm like, even if I didn't catch what they were saying in the think pieces, it was a great show. If that show was on the Grammys, you'd be like, that was fire.
It was, yes. It was so much better than I thought initially. But go ahead, Kev.
That's it. So, I'll admit, watch your friends. Sometimes your friends will drag you down.
I really thought it was a mid show also. In fact, I was with Kevin and the hater Lou Romaine, and
all I keep hearing is Mano. Hi, hater.
Hi, hater. Yep. And I really thought the show wasn't all of that. And then I watched it, and I watched it again in preparation for this segment. And I was like, first of all, I missed everything. I missed that he teased not like us, and then he was like wasn't gonna do it. I missed that he said people like to sue. I missed the game board, the PlayStation game board. I missed in the game over at the end. I missed everything.
The warning wrong way in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully you got something better, Tim. Hopefully you got to enjoy it the first time you saw it.
So I definitely I enjoyed it, but I appreciated it more watching it the next day online with headphones. There was definitely something with the mix, plus having 50
and the channels and what channel you watching,
depending on what channel you was on. So, but I will say, the more that I began to study it, the more I began to appreciate it. And I think sometimes when it comes to art, we lean too much on whether or not we're a fan of it, and then we'll say we love it because we're a fan of it. But Aaron is one who is a stickler for the art of critique. And that comes with a level of appreciation. So the more that I have been paying attention to it, talking to my students about it, I appreciate. There's aspects of it I love, but I appreciate, because for me, I feel like Kendrick went on that stage and was 1000% Kendrick, unapologetic. And not everybody on that stage with the president of the United States in the building in this current climate, you stepped on that joint with Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
That's a level of gangster.
Or Uncle Tom, if
whichever way you want to look at it.
However you want to look at it, right?
But it's like, to me, that's a level of gangster. Like comparing it to the 2020, because that show was all hip hop. It was LA, it was Dre. That was a really good show. But for the most part, they were just performing their hits.
Yes.
Kendrick's small part gave you a glimpse of just how he thinks.
Yes.
To then be the first hip hop soloist to have the show. And as Aaron said, like, so many people missed the PlayStation controller, and the fact that the PlayStation controller not only was shaped as a controller, but it was set on a prison yard. Yes. And then you had the Game Over, and then you talked about the teasing of They Not Like Us, but then Uncle Sam or Uncle Tom is going back like, don't you do it. And then the slow part with SZA, where it's like, yes, you're good. And then when he got a little ratchet, like, oh, you want to bring your boys with you. That's the culture cheat code. Scorekeeper, deduct one life. Like, what?
Yeah. And the American flag being split in half.
Yes.
As a country, at odds with itself. Like,
yes.
The amount of layers were. And this is what a great artist does. And you see it in paintings also. Not only will they inject their meaning, because they have a definitive meaning when they present a work of art. But if you do it right at the highest level of art, it becomes so complex that the watcher or the observer injects their own ideas, feelings, ideology. People will look at a painting and have two different opinions of that painting. And it isn't really so much about what the artist intended, but the fact that two people can look at the same thing and feel differently is one of the greatest achievements that artists can have. And Kendrick is so complex, you'll never really understand exactly what he means, but he is so layered that you're going to get probably most of what he means out of it, but then some more of your personal that you add on also.
But it ties into, Kev, what you were saying, and I love that you thought when you were saying it throughout the show, like, we thirst for knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The abundance of thought pieces that have been coming out.
Yep.
Like, that to me personifies a thirst for knowledge. And these thought pieces are from just your social media person, to your PhD person, to your student, to your high school teacher, to your hip hop head. And everybody is speaking with this level of confidence, like, yo, I know what I'm talking about because I know what I saw and all of that. Like, to me, that's beautiful. Like, that reminds us of how we used to argue in the dorms about albums when lyricism was kind of above beats. Like, we wasn't arguing about beats per se, but we had arguments about like play it again. Did you hear that? This is what he was saying. So
we were doing our own verses back then.
Exactly.
Like,
go ahead. There was one piece, like, even down to the Gloria jacket, right? The Gloria jacket, which is the last song where it's an ode to his pen, how it kept him out of trouble, went through life and all this. And he's wearing, there's just so much around. There was a point where he after, I think it was after the slow songs, where they flashed up on there, said warning wrong way, like in the game.
Yeah.
As if it's like, oh now you're trying to flip the other, now you're trying to soften yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much.
Yeah. And I think, to Tim's point, and even back to before with education and hip hop, there is so much that people, I guess I never looked at hip hop this way, but I've heard just cats from the hood or from the barbershop talk about how much, like, when you brought up KRS One before about how much they learned from him. Like, you must learn. Cats really learned from that. Or, you know, I heard Math Hoffa talking about Jay-Z and his perception of how he talked about business and how everybody in the hood started viewing, you know, becoming a businessman in a different way. Hip hop teaches at a very basic level, like Math Hoffa mentioned, and because to me, I wouldn't be like, oh wow, I learned about business from Jay-Z, but there are cats in the hood that their thinking changed because of a hip hop artist. To the all the way to the other end of Kendrick Lamar having people from the Hill, a right wing paper, taking their take on Kendrick, to MAGA people flipping out, talking about this
is the worst show. Yep.
And I guarantee you they missed all of what we just talked about. They had no understanding of this man, his music, how in depth that show was. It was clearly the most complex Super Bowl show ever. Not
even close. It's not even the other 58.
I'd say Beyonce was the second most, but
yeah.
Hers was pretty much in your face.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of it, and that's the point where, to me, I felt like Kendrick was tapping into the spirit of some of our giants in the Black arts movement, like your Toni Morrisons, your Gwendolyn Brooks, your Amiri Barakas, where it's like, yo, if you don't get it, I'm not writing for you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of like, you know, but they weren't doing it on a stage of the Super Bowl that was reaching 200 countries, and he still was not only just himself, he was Compton. So it's like, yo, even for hip hop, I'm inviting y'all in to where I'm from, and to have so many beautiful young Black dancers and things like that, man. Like, you could do a whole thing on the fly. So you think about it, look at what happened when Colin Kaepernick knelt during the national anthem of an NFL game. To fast forward, and that was under Trump's first presidency. To then fast forward at the start of his second presidency, and you get that as the halftime show.
Yeah. I mean,
they not like us.
Yeah. MAGA basically did to hip hop what that white reporter did to Toni Morrison when she said to her, when are you going to write some white characters in your art? And she was like, you don't realize how offensive that question is, you know, in your superiority. These MAGA folk, the idea that they thought that only their version of what a show should be is entertainment, only what they view as exciting is the measure of what excitement is.
They want Luke Bryan.
Yes.
Well, but see, but
it's sad.
But they
and short-sighted.
Yeah, they wanted it to be overtly and almost singularly about Drake, because
MAGA people. You think?
Yes,
Okay.
in America, because I mean, please, right now, I mean, you got the president talking about Canada should become the 51st state. So, and then you had him
get him, Canada.
So you had him sweep the Grammys. You had the entire Grammy audience sing A minor.
Yeah.
So trust me, America writ large is cool with any battle where we are tearing each other down.
Yes.
Now, yes, he got that point across, but it was so much more a critique of America.
Even when he mentions Not Like Us in the beginning, he kind of says it's bigger than just.
But this is the part where you said that they missed it.
Yeah,
it's just so his brilliance be like, okay, if this is what's going to give me the stage, which is why he said he flipped that Gil Scott Heron in the beginning.
Yeah,
that's like, you know, this time the revolution may be terrorized, but y'all got the wrong person.
Yep.
And so wrong for some people, but right for others. So
I mean, you know, and if you really think about it, whenever he's on a stage, big performances, like the Grammys 2016, with like
with the
Middle
prison
Passage.
and the Middle Passage joint.
Yeah, Middle Passage in the prison. Then the doing I on Saturday Night Live and Daddy Issues, well, not Daddy Issues, but the other song we did on Saturday Night Live. Like he always
stomping in the water with Beyonce with fresh new butter Timbs on.
Yeah.
Like that was a revolutionary act. I was like, no, I get it.
So I'm saying he's always trying to send, I guess where he's at. He's always trying to send a message.
Yeah. I to me, Kendrick right now is the perfect marriage of an artist and their artistry and the expression of their artistry after they've created it.
Yes.
Than anyone I can think of.
Yeah. Cole just dropped a song, I think yesterday on his blog. But the way that you couched it as artistry in totality right now is Kendrick, and then everybody else. So if you have not, because my mic sound nice, our peer group, we old heads. There's no way we caught it on the first time. Go back. I recommend watching it with some headphones.
Yes.
Because honestly, you can watch it multiple times and then pick what you're going to pay attention to. Like, honestly, you could watch it on mute and focus on the symbolism and get things. You can watch it and put on the closed captions and focus on Samuel L. Jackson. You can watch it and pay attention to the stands. Like, there's multiple ways that you can get this information. You can definitely go look up the song list, go read the lyrics. Like, so you could put in that work if you're really hungry for knowledge and be able to get it in a way that allows you to digest it. And one last thing I wanted to bring up, Kev, bring up the point where you were talking about the amount of time, because we live in this era of microwave knowledge. And we all know that microwave food is processed and it'll kill you. So
so with the instant reaction before, as I was talking about the hater that I was with, this hater also was a longtime writer with The Source, for back in the day in all types of magazines. And we were talking about when you did record reviews, you had an album, the cassette back then. you had the cassette for like a month. You lived with it. You listened to it off and on. You listened to it all the way through. You might listen to it walking on the train. Like you listen to it in a variety of different settings before you decided that this album was a 5-mic album or 4-mic album. Now what happens? The song comes out. The song is released on Spotify or streaming services at 12:01 Friday morning, and by noon you got a whole bunch of different ratings or like reviews of this album. You can't possibly. There's
not
no
properly.
way.
Not properly.
There's no. You can have an instant reaction, but an instant reaction isn't what the album is.
And the problem is this: if you can properly write a review that fast, the album is trash. Because it's very shallow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we're not even speaking singles, that literally somebody will drop their album.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to work, people done wrote reviews. It's like, what?
Yeah. And I can tell you, as someone who's done that myself, you may feel very differently about a song after you listen to it once than you listen to it the 7th time. In 5 different scenarios. And sometimes some music does take time and fairness to grow on you.
Yep.
That's part of the artistic experience. And to finish Kevin's point, the reason we're talking about the Super Bowl halftime show 2 weeks after the Super Bowl is because
it's a lot to digest.
Allowing us to live with it, as we did initially, Kevin first said, we had this is mid-reaction. And we both now feel like we couldn't. We feel stupid almost for feeling that way.
Yeah.
So even if you've watched the Super Bowl and you're listening to us now, and you've seen it, and you're like, you did a one and done, do yourself a service. And this isn't just like a Grammy performance where one and done is enough. This is worth watching 2 or 3 times, just to see what you missed. because it was quite a lot.
Without a doubt.
Well said.
And like Reggie Jack said, check your friends.
Yeah.
Haters will cause you to miss the make you miss the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, let's get into this Robinson report.
All right, time for the Robinson report. We're about to talk about those things that are giving you life. Check this out.
Check this out.
All right. Because we're in the season of love, it's the day before my birthday. I'm not mad. I'm going to shout out somebody who I typically don't shout out. Michael Jordan.
What?
Michael Jordan.
Yo,
that's right.
Say what?
Check his forehead. Does he have a fever?
Yeah.
Have you eaten? Do you need food?
now, I have no. Of course, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player. I have no things around that. I just like LeBron better as a person. But Michael Jordan, the reason I'm shouting him out, just this past week, they opened up the 4th Michael Jordan Family Medical Clinic for people without insurance in North Carolina. He's got
Go ahead, Mike.
You know, he put $10 million, him in Northwell or Novant Health, and they've been opening up these clinics around North Carolina the past couple of years, and they just opened up the 4th one in Wilmington. And, you know, anybody that's out there, you know, quietly working in the community doing those things, that's fantastic, because, you know, you don't quite realize as we get older, we recognize like just how bad health, you know, when your health takes a bad turn, how dangerous things can be, or just how difficult it is to even afford these things. And the fact that he's offering it for people without health insurance in his own community is a fantastic thing. You know, so he's not forgotten where he came from.
Salute. What you got, A?
So, I went back and forth, but this is what really is in my spirit. So for the last 8 weeks, I've been watching the show called The Pit on Max, and it's about an ER in Pittsburgh.
Vanessa got me into it, so go ahead.
And if you have any, if you watch across the country, the response from doctors and emergency room doctors has been, this is the most authentic medical show ever presented. And I can tell you, as someone who has spent 50 years in emergency rooms and hospitals, that is absolutely 100% true.
Wow.
And what I appreciate is that I've watched ER do it. I've watched other shows. Kevin knows I've been complaining to him for 25 years, where they will cover sickle cell anemia in an emergency room. And it is almost always explained in a way where the sickle cell patient is a drug addict, skipping over the disease and the reality of the disease and the pain that exists with the disease. And The Pit had a sickle cell patient in it, I think probably starting episode 3 or 4. And it is the most proper representation of sickle cell that I've ever seen on a medical drama. And I want to shout them out for that.
Are you talking about the black woman?
The black woman who has chest syndrome, sickle cell chest syndrome. The show, real quick, folks, is each episode is 1 hour long. It's probably going to be 12 hours in it, which would be a typical shift in the ER. And so we're living with this patient hour to hour. So we'll probably see the patient. I'm almost certain we'll see the patient again because they're still in the emergency room. So it's been a proper explanation of sickle cell and medicine. I recommend everybody check it out. It's on Max. Noah Wiley from ER is the lead actor, and he also wrote some episodes also.
And I believe your boy Christian has done some work in it. I know he did some early work in it when they were filming this summer.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
But yeah, Vanessa got me into it, but now I'm gonna give her that report. So we'll probably be binge watching to catch up. So for me, my Robinson report is actually a show and tell. A partner of mine, he was taking his son on a multi-state drive. They live in Tennessee. They were driving to see the Celtics play in New Orleans. and he asked some people that he trusts in their hip hop, like, yo, give me a playlist, give me certain songs that really mean something to you, because I want to put this together and share hip hop from my friends and colleagues with my 10-year-old son. And so I was telling him, because he had somebody give one song, and we might have did a broadcast not too long ago. So I was in my Lu-Fi bag, and I told him about Stetsasonic, Go Stetsa, and shout out to Russ. He DJ'd this 2 songs ad nauseum. And so I just had a business trip, and as a thank you gift, the brother gave me the vinyl. He gave me the vinyl of Stetsasonic. So shout out to Russ, and shout out to Lu-Fi, Drew Hall, 5th floor. I flew home last night, so I had to like wrap it in a sweatshirt, put it in a sweater, put jeans around it, like putting my bag in the overhead, like, nobody, I was like, don't scratch this. Like, I'm not checking it. Like, I'm holding it. And but yeah, so shout out to Grant. He definitely hooked me up. So when he gave it to me, and I knew we were gonna do this show, I was like, yo, my boys is gonna smile. And I was like, I gotta do the Robinson Report and share Ghost Stetsa on vinyl. So there you go.
That's what's up. That's definitely what's up. Yeah.
So another show, brothers,
and another one.
Always a pleasure.
Always.
Kev, on behalf of my Mike Sounds Nice, happy birthday to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, my brother.
As you are entering into Heinz 57. And hopefully you will have a great variety.
Yeah. I'm entering Heinz 57, but y'all brothers will catch up.
There you go. That's right. We will catch up.
We nice on the mic, right?
Yes. And don't slip on the mustard.
Mustard on the beat.
You even brought out the producer.
Yeah.
Who brings out the producer?
Yes.
To just dance. No mic, no nothing.
Yes. Who is just dancing and lip syncing, holding a football, just letting people know we killing it. We killing it. We here.
Like, I understand the Grammys, but that the Super Bowl performance?
Like, at least give him a mic. Give him a mic. He didn't even give him a mic, man.
Hey.
It worked though.
He can bring me out there. Exactly. First of all, he didn't need a mic. Everybody else was screaming. They said it for him. So,
and everybody said A minor.
Yeah.
Kendrick didn't have to say it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kendrick did not say it, but the crowd said it. And they enjoyed saying it.
Like, they was on their edge of their seats, like, ready? Now? Like, hey, not yet. They was harmonizing. So
they even went longer. The A minor was longer than the they extended that joint.
The one thing, he didn't call him Drake. He's like he called him Lover Boy. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Drake, I like you. He said, hey, Lover Boy, I hear you like him young.
Yep. So, but yo, man, till the next time, you all, peace. This is Tim. My mic sounds nice. See you on the next side.
My mic sounds nice. This is Kev. Thanks for being here.
My mic sounds nice. I think the crew, we love streaming with y'all. We love connecting with y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe.
Yes.
Pop it up in the comments.
Yes.
Let us know what you think about Drake and well, actually Kendrick and his performance. Let us know how you feeling about the Department of Education. Are you scared? Are you concerned about it going away? Let us know.
Take a Hillman Talk class. Let us know.
Yeah. And take a Hillman Talk class.
And,
all right.
And continue to love your hater. That's in your crew.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love our hater. Hi, hater.
Hi, hater. My mic sounds nice. This is A. Peace.
My mic sounds nice. Peace.
Peace.
That was
that's
good.
hilarious.
That's hilarious.
We got to bring the hater on.